Does anybody even care if they get called a conspiracy theorist? I mean that actually. Does that bother anybody? Why is that the word that they decide to throw out? Does anybody think that that holds weight to anybody anymore? I don't.
And here we go.
Welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
Whether it's the lack of evidence, the sealing of the court documents, the army of self-righteous know-it-alls who lose their damn minds the second someone asks a question, they all have something in common, and that's all that they talk a big game about justice. The moment you say something like, show me the chain of custody, they act like you just took a piss on the American flag. They act like you're crazy for saying, I just want to see the chain of custody. I mean, for God's sakes, Brian Koberger's attorney saying that they don't know what the chain of custody is, the SNP doubled in size. And then I got to go on X and other social media platforms, and I'm like, okay, this has got to be the thing that changes it. This has got to be the document. They finally have released it, and it is going to change people's minds. And then these people, they double down on it. And that is not good, because the people that are locked, like they're locked in, they're not changing their mind, have the biggest platforms. It could be a little bit disheartening. That doesn't mean that we have to give up. It doesn't mean that we have to like succumb to the pressure of, oh my God, we're never going to be able to, get this out there. No, because as I've said, my new favorite line, as much as this is about the Idaho 4, is that this really has nothing, like the bigger picture has nothing to do with Brian Koberger, the 2 surviving roommates, the 4 victims, any of the families. It has everything to do with the reaction of the big media and the big tech companies. They're worshiping Brian Koberger. They're pro-burgers. No. And honestly, it's such a low IQ thing that you can't see that. It is so low IQ that you cannot see or listen to anything. Maybe you have a soundbite that people clip from a stream like this and many others that are becoming very hypercritical of this, have been very hypercritical of this. If they had some time here in the Hive with us, they would understand that we're not these foaming from the mouth, rabid conspiracy freaks. Whatever the insult of the week is, okay? It's like a flavor of the day insult for what people want to call anybody that, again, says, show me the evidence, after the same people just said, oh my God, justice is served. Well, justice depends on evidence. I'm just tired of the performative smugness, to say the least. These couch commandos have lost their damn minds. It's okay to think out loud. As I always say, we have the freedom to do so. We should probably exercise that freedom while we still have it. God only knows with like Neuralink and what other technology they're going to have, that the second you start to think, it just zaps you. It just zaps you, and it's like a dog with an electric fence, but it's for your mind. That's how they're going to control you. And yeah, Katie, I mean, Katie says, don't let the bots get you down. No, they're not getting me down. If anything, the only thing it's really done is just, whether it's a bot or whether it's a real person, they might as well be the same. They're both NPCs. They don't have brains. They don't think. They're chugging tap water all day. Getting fluoride treatments at the dentist still. I was shocked when my dentist asked me about that. I just can't believe it's like still a thing. And this case has changed me, and it's made me realize that we can come in here, we could talk about theories that are crazy. That doesn't mean we believe them. We have the ability to entertain these thoughts. But we also have the ability to be very granular and very specific and go deep into the weeds on this and understand the inner workings of the actual case, of the court docs, of the body cam. We wouldn't be able to theorize and put together theories that gain traction if we didn't understand that as the base of knowledge. Does everybody know what I mean by that? Because that would be like, how can you become a pro basketball player if you don't know how to dribble? How can you become an Olympic swimmer if you can't swim? How can you be a conspiracy theorist if you don't understand the basic of the event in which there's a conspiracy forming around? And people don't get it. They don't get it. Yeah, Lauren Amber, great point. I don't just want free speech. I want free thought. And damn it, Lauren, we're going to have to probably end up defending freedom of thought sooner rather than later. It won't just be having to defend free speech. It's like probably one thing that the founding fathers left out was they didn't talk about anything about thought police. You know what I mean? They kind of stopped at speech, and they didn't expect maybe technology to go that far. They considered it for weapons by saying the right to bear arms, right? Because maybe they knew those were going to change. Is Pavarotti in the house? Jamboree, what's up, man? Continuing to do great work on this case. Absolutely great work. I think you are spot on with, we need somebody who not only has access to a set, but they have a set on them, meaning they got a pair of cojones on them that's not afraid to look into this and call it out and do it in a methodical way with experts, with people that have credibility. And I'm ready to go and do my part and help in that matter however I can. And again, the motivation for me and what I want people to understand is that Brian Kohberger has become this vehicle in a sense for so many things that are unjust. The courtroom doesn't seem to be about evidence and factual basis. And you could say, well, you would think it is. Right, it is. But these agencies, they have so much overreach. They have so much power. They could seal, they could redact. And it actually kind of just erases the evidence and the facts anyways, for national security, for your own personal protection. And it all goes back to just trust us, bro. Just trust us. Give up your rights. We're only gonna overstep your rights this one time just to catch this one monster. No, we're not going to codify it, and we're not going to make it law after the fact, right? No, we're not going to use all this advanced technology with DNA and geofencing and God knows what else with Palantir and Othram coming down the pike full speed ahead. No, we're not going to use that on you guys. No. Are you kidding me? We've never done that. We're only going to use it to catch the bad guys. So just believe the story. You don't need to see the evidence. You don't need to see the evidence. Just believe the story. And that's what gets me fired up about this case is how many dumbasses fall for that. Too many fluoridated idiots just fall for the story without the evidence. The story is emotionally palatable. That emotional trigger is what allows the overstep, the overreach. The Patriot Act is a huge and probably an example that everybody can understand. This IGG thing, it's huge. It's way bigger than people understand. It's going to get ugly when that combines with Palantir and the predictive criminal and policing behavior and these programs. If they want to cook you, they're going to have their absolute way with you and bend you over the barrel and show you the 50 states until you cry or until you end up in Brian Kohberger's position.
I'm new here, and I love your channel. It's so frustrating. Anyone with a brain in their head can see that something else is going on. I'm so scared they are going to get away with it, and we will never get real answers.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, Nicole. I don't think you're wrong. The hard part that I think we have to also wrap our head around is, and I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. Maybe not everybody believes it, and I promise you what I'm trying to say here, I'm not even trying to theorize or speculate. I'm trying to say this wouldn't be the first time that this has happened. Okay? When you think of things like Brian Kohberger's papers being about exactly what's happening to him, the odds of that being a coincidence, and then also the odds of that being something that they release now after the fact are like minimal. I don't even know what those odds would be. And then you look at they can't connect him to the house. There was no stalking of the victims, so on and so forth, things that we talk about all the time. If Brian Kohberger is some sort of informant or an asset, and I've said this before, I'll say this again. When I had Brian's friend Will on, there was a question that got asked to him that he didn't really talk too much about on the stream. I'd said, do you think Brian was a Fed? Do you think he was an informant? Okay, and he said no. And then he called me about a week and a half later. He's like, dude, I have not been able to stop thinking about that question you asked me about if Brian is an informant. And I said, why? He goes, the only time that he came around when I used to say, like, hey, he's just there for the ride, was when we had to go to Patterson to pick up. I never saw him use. And I thought to myself, wow, that's crazy. Now you can take that for what it is. I believe Will. Will has not lied to me about a single thing. We background checked him. He's very honest, at least to me. Anything that he said checks out. So when I think about that, you know, I'm like, man, it is kind of weird that they said dude was a drug user. Right? I mean, then I think back to Scott Payne, who was undercover inside the Outlaws. He would go do buys all the time at night, and he wasn't using. He would just go and pick up. There's people that just go with that are undercover to pick up. If you're undercover, you don't have to do the drugs. So where I'm going with all of this is, let's say that it is some sort of bigger operation. This is just a thought exercise right now. I don't know how I feel about, and I don't know how everybody in here feels about, is that okay if it's an operation to lie to the American public about it? Can you still be as effective if you tell people there's an operation that's ongoing? Okay, now you could say, okay, there's clearly an ongoing investigation still, other cases that are going on amongst this, but it's like, would that help if they told us there's an operation going on?
Thinking for yourself isn't rebellion, it's responsibility. Brain emoji, fire emoji.
Well said, reasonable doubter. I love that username. I think Brandon, that's the best way to say it. It just feels like it's often abused. That's where we have to find this balance, I think, as a public of there has to be trust, right? So let's go back to, you know, you go back to the first press conference, guys. It's a target attack, you know, don't got to be worried, yada, yada, yada. And you're just going to have to trust us. Okay. That should be, if you think about it, that should be okay for the police to say, in a way. But why isn't it anymore? Why isn't it anymore? Well, I don't necessarily think that it's our fault if we don't just blindly trust authority. And it's not just cops, it's any authority, right? I have the utmost respect for cops and military and anybody that's in, you know, a position of, you know, authority. I do. I have manners. I respect them. And there's got to be a give and take. That's the other thing too, is I'm not just this like chaos loving person. Okay. I just want the system to work. That's all. Okay. I don't love engaging in this chaos with, like, it's just something that I feel genuinely passionate about. I just want the system to work. If it can't survive a few hard questions from little old birdie in the hive, well, is that really a system? Or is that just a cult? Honestly asking that. Right? We're talking about law enforcement. We're talking about the court system. And people can't, I guess, ask simple questions anymore. But that's how I feel about that. When it comes to asking questions, I don't love to live in the chaos. I obviously can get into here and I could yell into the mic and I can rant and I can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, there has to be something done about this. On a very serious note, there has to be something done about this. This is not good. If Brian Koberger is truly getting this railroaded, this is a huge crisis on our hands. And this isn't, I said this the other day, this is not delayed justice, everybody. This feels like a warning. We don't care how much you beg and scream. We don't care how much you yell from the rooftops. Just shut up. Just shut up. We don't have to show you it. We can hide behind national security. You know what I mean? Take it easy, Pop. Thanks for popping in, brother man. I should have thrown on the beanie and the shades.
We hit the jackpot with Birdie and Paf tonight. Dizzy emoji, dizzy emoji, dizzy emoji.
Yeah, thank you, Toothless. I agree. At least how my brain works is like, okay, why are you telling me I shouldn't listen to this person? Like, why are you saying that what they're saying is bad? Now I'm curious. I'm going to turn off your channel and I'm going to go listen to them. How many times has that happened? It's happened a lot. If anything, just the fact that somebody would say, no, don't tune into them. What are you thinking? Why would you do that? That makes me want to go listen to them more. Type of one if you guys agree with that and you guys feel the same way, especially now after this case, especially now after COVID, especially now after 9/11, Vegas, all the other random ass crazy shit that makes no sense that we just have to put up with. Just go about our days, hard hat, lunch pail, punch in, punch out. Shit just keeps hitting the fan over and over and over again. And while we're at it, just don't question what we're doing. Stay busy. And if you do question it, we'll just censor you. We'll have our AI algorithms attack you with bot farms. We'll demonetize you, deplatform you. Give me a break. Yeah, Ya's daughter. They call you a conspiracy theorist. It's just another buzzword. Does anybody even care if they get called a conspiracy theorist? I mean that, actually. Does that bother anybody? Like, why is that the word that they decide to throw out as if it holds weight? Does anybody think that that holds weight to anybody anymore? I don't. Shit, like I was saying, they call somebody a conspiracy theorist. Even before I was doing this, and I don't know, there's just something inside of me instinctually. I'm like, I want to go listen to them. Yeah, I love it. Wolfpack says I take that as a compliment. And real quick, guys, I just want to take a second and plug the channel. We do have some new people in here. If you're not subscribed or if you haven't liked this chat, just take 10 seconds right now and just swipe down on the chat. Please press that like button. I keep all of my streams free. I'm never going to charge for a stream. I don't ever want to have a paywall. I want it to be a place where you guys can come and there should be no roadblocks for you to be able to come in here and hang out and chat or just listen and pay attention to. So send it to some of your NPC normie friends that need to be red pilled. We don't offer any refunds on the red pills, but they can tune in for free. And I go live every weeknight at 7 p.m. Central. And then on Saturday mornings, sometimes between 9 and 11, and then Sunday evenings at 7.
I want to say that I used to be one that thought BK was a monster, but listening to people like you gives your opinion with logic and common sense. It swayed me. Those of you who were so sure we're wrong, tell us your logic.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Just giving top dogs out left and right this evening. That takes a lot to say. And thank you for feeling kind enough too to give that massive super chat. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. And to also just put that with, the fact that you were swayed. Do you know how many people can't even do that? We could talk about open-mindedness. How about just a person being able to say, I was wrong. I was wrong. Or I changed my mind. It's weird to not change your mind as you go through life on stuff. Right? I mean, you can have core principles on respect, manners, how you treat people, faith, things like that, right? I'm not talking about those things necessarily because there's arguments to be made for that. But when it comes to objective things, if you never change your mind, you probably live a very boring life. And I don't want to be rude when I say that. That's an opinion, right? Like I said, I'm just, I'm happy I don't have a brain like that. I love my mind. I feel like a lot of people in here love their minds as well. I think it's fun to be able to think like this. It's a blessing to be able to think like this, to be able to think outside the box. Painted Dessert says heretic person who challenged society's beliefs. Oh, Christ. Painted Desert. I'm sorry. Desert, not dessert, although my husband eats me like I am. Oh, that top dog goes to your husband at that point. This is a little bit of a long post, but I promise you, this should open everybody's eyes. So if you're somebody out there that knows an expert, that knows a private investigator, that knows anybody with a platform that has an open mind, please show them this clip. And Ashley 91121 says, I apologize for this long post. I've been following the Celebrite forensic analyst experts make their rounds on YouTube and mainstream media. Please help spread the truth regarding these claims by them. Thank you so much. Take care. Now, they go on to say, as a seasoned forensics examiner with over 20 years of experience, I need to call out some major problems with the claims being made about Brian Koberger's Samsung Galaxy phone extraction in this case. Notwithstanding the defendant's guilt or innocence, the quote examiners are making some pretty bold claims. The defendant's phone was seized 47 days after the crimes were committed on November 13th, 2022, and the extraction took place December 30th, 2022. These examiners, who never had the physical phone, reviewed the extraction in Celebrite, then Axiom. The examiners themselves admit that when they reviewed in Celebrite, most of the parsed data showed up as unknown artifacts. This means the software could not categorize the extracted data in standard fields because it didn't match existing parsers. That alone tells you the data was not cleanly interpretable with the tools available, which is why the FBI contacted them. The examiners claim the defendant cleared logs and data, creating a gap between October 12, 2022 and November 16, 2022, but then claim the extracted data shows the defendant deliberately disabled Wi-Fi during this gap on or around November 11, 2022, days prior to the crimes to avoid being tracked. They go on to assert that during this same data gap on November 13th, 2022, the defendant deliberately disabled Wi-Fi, contradicting their earlier November 11th Wi-Fi claim. Then powered the phone off by pressing the power button while at 100% battery, powering it back on about 2 hours later. There was a data gap, or there wasn't, but you can't have it both ways. I would love to see the actual report and artifacts they are relying on, because they are clearly forcing ambiguous, unknown data into a narrative that matches what FBI investigators wanted. Here's the technical reality from somebody who has actually worked with these tools and how shutdowns and Wi-Fi toggles are logged. Android devices do log shutdown reasons and Wi-Fi state changes, but these logs live in a volatile system, buffers or small databases that are constantly overwritten. Artifacts could exist 47 days later had the shutdown occurred due to a kernel panic or a crash or a dead battery for a debug or troubleshooting purposes. But they say the shutdown was a typical and deliberate power off initiated by the defendant, being Brian Koberger, not unexpected or something that would have to be reviewed later to troubleshoot a faulty phone. Once the device has been restarted multiple times, especially 47 days later, those entries are gone. They do not survive. There is no artifact that would preserve 100% battery at shutdown from 47 days prior. Now, I'm going to pause there. I'm going to pause right there. That is so interesting to me. You're right. Do you think that your phone from 47 days earlier is going to log how much battery you had when you powered it down? Why would there ever be a need for that feature? And so what Ashley 91121 is saying is that battery level logging is ephemeral and unrelated to user initiated power downs. Battery state logs 47 days later, think about it. Your battery percentage changes dozens of times daily, charging, unplugging, low battery warnings, drops in use. A 47-day record of every battery state simply does not exist on consumer devices because it has zero value for debugging or any phone operation. While persistent user-initiated shutdowns and battery level logging, among other metrics, would certainly be useful for forensic examiners, phones are not designed for forensic examiners. They're designed for end users. These power down and battery logs simply do not exist in the way these examiners are claiming, period. The claim, quote, the defendant deliberately disabled Wi-Fi, then manually pressed the power button to shut down his phone at precisely 2:47 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, end quote, is a misinterpretation of data at best and an outright fabrication at worst. Google or Android OS and Samsung Galaxy Phone do not publish white papers or deep technical documentation of their OS internals or device level logging. Forensic tool makers, being Celebrite, Magnet, etc., they rely on reverse engineering, testing, and observation. And Android/Samsung updates constantly break or change those findings. This means what examiners think they're seeing in, quote, unknown artifacts is often guesswork. It's not definitive. It's not scientific. The tools themselves are black boxes. Just like Google and Samsung don't open their internals, Celebrite, UFED, and Magnet Axiom also don't reveal exactly how their parsers work. The only real transparency comes from third-party audits like NIST's testing program, which has repeatedly shown flaws in both tools, especially around artifact interpretation and timestamp handling. Those flaws have directly led to cases being dismissed or lost in court. These flaws often exist for years before being addressed. This isn't digital forensics, it's ghost hunting with a Celebrite license, allowing these quote examiners to go on TV, repeat impossible claims, and present them as hard fact without consulting independent, unbiased examiners is disingenuous, misleading, and frankly bad journalism. They've been making media rounds promoting their software and chasing clout with claims that are contradicting, misleading, biased, and outright false. The public may see them as quote experts and accept their words as fact, but those of us who actually work with these tools know they are taking really ambiguous, uncategorized, unknown artifact data and forcing it into a narrative. Zin drop. I mean, that is just... Do you know there almost everything that's been in the narrative, that YouTube comment could completely shut down. Well, he turned his phone off. How do you expect that? Huh, Birdie? How do you explain that? Oh, you could do the same thing with DNA, and then we could probably go and do the same thing with every other part of the narrative. How about his car? How about his connection to the victims? How about the murder weapon? Sherry says, I think if we had all the texts and videos from about 8 phones, we could solve everything. Top dog. That's so true, right? Is it really that simple? It probably is. Let's just see that. Where is their digital breadcrumb trail? Does anybody know? Anyone? Bueller? And I think we should end the stream with this, which is what Aspen says. And that is, I want to see the damn sheath. Amen to that. We haven't seen it. Who knows if it even exists. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central. Cheers, everybody.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.